Well, hello there everyone, my name is Amy, this is The Opinionated Woman, and welcome to my best books of 2023. It's that time of year, yeah. If you have been around on my channel for a little while, I get too overwhelmed to do a full best books of the whole year sort of situation. So I do the best books of the first half of the year, which I've done. I will link that down below if you want to see what books made it into that. And then this is from July to December. I just find it so much easier to be able to wrap up that amount of books because it can be a little intimidating for me to sometimes do sit down videos, especially if I'm trying to be too masked. So yeah, I don't want to make it too long. So most of these books, like a lot of these books, I actually had as either like some of these books were an audiobook. I think one of them is an audiobook. No, two of them are audiobooks, and then I got some at the library as well. So I'm just going to have to display a picture here for you because yeah, I don't have them on me. I wish I could have copies of all of these, but I really don't have the budget to be buying copies of books I liked just because I want to have a copy. Like if I'm going to buy a book, I want to buy a book that I haven't read yet, you know? So that's what we're going to do. These are in chronological order. They're not in like the order of which I like them. They're just in the order of which I read them. So yeah, let's jump into it. The first book that I really enjoyed was The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. This is a historical fiction set in 16 something or other. 1561, and we're following Lucrezia de Medici, and she was a real life de Medici princess, and she ended up dying not long after she married this man. And there were always suspicions as to whether her husband killed her. So Maggie O'Farrell has taken that fact and has created a narrative around that and around Lucrezia as a person. And I just really enjoyed this. It's set so long ago, but it just like really captured me. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I actually like this one more than Hamlet, which is strange, but yeah, they're both following historical figures and the imaginings around their death and things like that. So I just love Lucrezia as a character and being in her head and the tension that Maggie O'Farrell builds. I really enjoyed that. And the fact that Lucrezia is like an artist and we see a lot of her putting her emotion into her art, even when she's being limited by this really toxic man. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I've almost read all of Maggie O'Farrell's books now. I keep on picking up her backlist. I've got a bunch here at secondhand stores. So yeah, Maggie O'Farrell, always a winner. The next one was totally unexpected because I don't usually put thrillers on my best of the year, but I have to with Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. This was on a lot of people's best of the year when the year it came out, and I totally understand why. This is by a black gay author, and it's following two fathers, Ike and Buddy Lee. Ike is black, Buddy Lee is white, and they each had a son, and they were in a relationship, and they were not supportive at all. They were very homophobic. They were estranged from their sons, but then their sons get brutally killed in a hate crime, and they feel like they have to make up for being such shitty fathers and like avenge their deaths. And they're very rough. Like they're older men, but they've both done prison time. They've both been in like gangs and stuff like that. So like they're very intense guys. So you don't want to fuck with them. So it was a lot more violent than I expected. I was like, whoa, okay, old man's got some got some skills still. Like there's this one scene with a wood chipper, disgusting, but really good, and it actually made me cry. What kind of thriller makes you cry? But yeah, this made me cry. Really good, highly recommend. Then the first from my visit to the Sea Point Library, The Ace of Spades by Faridaj, Abike-Iyimide. This book, I've heard so much about and not been able to get hold of it. And I saw a TikTok from the Sea Point Library and I was like, they've got it. So I went to the Sea Point Library, which is nowhere near where I live. And it was so worth it. And this book, worth all the hype. So it's following these two characters. I can't remember their names, but because I don't have the book in front of me. So we're following our main character, who is a gay black man, and then our female main character, who is another black student at the same school. She's very high performing, very like up in the social hierarchy kind of thing. He is very low on the social hierarchy. He's just sort of like wants to get into Juilliard, just wants to get through school. And they are the only two black students at an almost entirely white high school. And we start the story at the beginning of their school year, and some really ominous stuff starts happening, and messages start getting sent out to the entire student body from this anonymous person, spilling secrets about our two main characters and the people around them. And they're starting to really fuck shit up for them in their real lives and their school lives. Like it's sort of becoming all encompassing, and they sort of have to team together to figure out who is targeting them and why. And it's crazy. Like it gets wild at the end, but I was there for it. Like I was so there for it. It was absolutely mad. And I think it would make such a good movie or a Netflix series. I think it would make, not that I watch movies or Netflix series, but for people who don't read, I think this story would translate really well. And I loved this author's writing, so I'm keeping an eye out for this author in the future for sure. Ace of Spades, worth every single tiny bit of hype. The next one is Gold Diggers by Sue Nyathi. Goddamn. So this book I picked up because I've been wanting to pick up Sue Nyathi's writing for a while. This was recommended in another South African booktubers video, Nonzama Shangase, and I thought that it sounded really good. So I was like, okay, this is a good starting off point for this author. And it hit so hard. It's not a very long book, not at all, but this follows so many different characters. We start off in a minibus taxi that is in Bulawayo, in Zimbabwe. In Bulawayo, right? They're basically right on the border, and this taxi is full of people who are going to illegally cross the border, and this is like around 2008, so it's like height of recession, you know. And we see how like the traumatizing experience that you have to go through crossing the border. And then we branch off and we follow a bunch of different characters. So like, as I said, it's not very long, but she manages to encapsulate each person's story so beautifully in such a heartbreaking way. This is really hard hitting. Please look up the trigger warnings before you read this. It's very intense, but a lot of the stories were based on real stories that have been documented over the years, especially since during 2008 when South Africa had a lot of xenophobic issues. It's heartbreaking. It's beautifully written. It's just so good. I want to pick up everything she's written. Oh my God. Then on a completely different note, A Good Day to Pie by Misha Popp. This is the second in the Pies Before Guys series. If you haven't read Magic Lies and Deadly Pies, I highly recommend it, but I actually enjoyed the second one even more. But you need to read the first one just so that you can get the backstory. So in this book, Daisy, our main character, has entered a Great British Bake Off like baking competition, and so they're filming it in this big manor house. So they don't go home like they do on Bake Off. Like they stay in this big manor house and they film there. So she's wanting to win this competition by not using magic. She wants to do it on her own merit, just using her pie skills. And then people start dropping dead. So she's got to have like a combination of trying to win this competition and trying to investigate all of the shenanigans that are going on, and there's secret tunnels. It's a fucking great time. Like, I listened to this on audio and it was so funny. I was just like so engaged the whole time. I was just listening whenever I had a chance. It was just so good, and I really hope there's more to come in this series because, oh man, so funny. If you like Bake Off at all, you're going to absolutely love this book. Cozy mysteries and Bake Off together. 10 out of 10. Then the last physical book that I've got left, and that is The Muse by Jessie Burton. And let this be a placeholder for all historical fictions that are told with one storyline in a closer to present day and one storyline in like later. I love that. How, like a present day one and a later one. This one has got the 1967 and 1936. I just really love that, and like connecting two characters through time, and this did that really well. So we're following our main character Odell Bastian, who gets this job at this gallery, and this mysterious painting comes in, and she starts to like learn about the provenance. And then the second story is telling us about the provenance of the painting, and the people that were woven into it, and the actual artist behind this painting. And there's so much drama and unexpected twists and turns and connections to people in Odell's life to people in the 1936 timeline. It was just so well written. I really, really like Jessie Burton. And this one just had me paging through it so fast, so I had to include it. Then very recently, I read The Lesbianas Guide to Catholic School by Sonora Reyes. If you want to see a full reading vlog, I will link that down below. I did a reading vlog of this and Julia Takes a Breath. And this immediately went onto this list. It's YA coming of age, queer, Mexican fiction, basically. So we're following Yamile Flores, and she is determined not to act gay at her new school, like absolutely determined. And man, this book is funny. It hits some like really hard-hitting points, but it's really funny at the same time. It's got like a really wonderful humor. I enjoyed it so much. So Yamile and her brother Caesar are changing schools. They're going to this Catholic school that's predominantly white, and because Caesar keeps getting into trouble at his other school, and Yamile got outed, but her family doesn't know. She got outed by her ex-best friend. So they both need a fresh start. So she's determined to go there and be straight as possible, because she's like really scared of what her mom is going to say, because she's so religious. She's sort of more sure that her dad is going to take it okay, but you know, she's really not sure. And so they go to this Catholic school, and obviously things do not go to plan. And it is so heartwarming, and it ends so beautifully. But what I really loved about this book was how well fleshed out all the characters were. Yamile was a really solid character. But the secondary characters and the tertiary characters are so well-rounded. Like, you feel the presence of all of them. They're very convincing, and they have impact on the story. They don't just feel like placeholders to carry on the story for the main character, you know? I just thought that was really artfully done. I can't believe this is a debut. And yeah, this, like, if you want to read a good gay YA, this is the book to read. And lastly, we got the audiobook of the second audiobook of the list, and that is The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. This book was just wonderful. I found out it's classified as friendship fiction, and I didn't know that was a thing. But my mom read this first and said, Ames, it's on Everand, you should listen to it. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll go listen to it. And it was so worth it. So it's all set around this little library that they're sort of like worried is going to go under. And we're following two main characters. Alicia, who's like a 17-year-old. She's trying to get a holiday job. She's got a very hard home life. Her brother's sort of like working his ass off, trying to work with the family. The dad fucked off to get another family, and her mom is severely depressed. So her life is kind of evolves around her mom's moods, so it's very difficult for her. So she's got this job at this library. And at the library, she encounters our second character, Mukesh, who's this like old 70-something Indian man who whose wife has just died, and his wife loved reading, and he wants to sort of connect to her. So he wants to go to the library and get recommendations, and he tries to get recommendations from Alicia, and she is such a bitch to him, and it's really funny. And then she feels bad about it later on, because she finds this reading list, and at the top of the reading list it says, just in case you need it. And she starts reading the books from this list, and then starts recommending them to Mukesh, and then they start forming this like really lovely friendship, and it's such a beautiful book. The books on the list are like Pride and Prejudice, The Kite Runner, Rebecca, Beloved, a bunch of other stuff basically, and each chapter we're going along, each like section is dedicated to the book that they're on in the list. And there's some really sad parts in this, like trigger warning, there is death in here, but it's so beautifully written, and it was so hopeful, and it felt like a warm hug. So it was just a wonderful recommendation for my mom, so thanks Debbles. And that is it. That is my best books of 2023. I can't believe it's the end of 2023 already. Can you see my TBR up there? Yeah, it got chunky. I'm gonna film a haul. So I've got some really good books coming up. So please do subscribe and turn on your notifications if you are keen to see more of my work. I've got so many videos coming. I'm pre-filming like crazy because I've got so much going on and so much cool stuff. I feel creative and I like want to make stuff for you. So if you want to see it, subscribe and come along for the ride. As always, down below is my Instagram and my TikTok. We have fun down there, and my Kofi link, which is just like a little one-time tip jar if you ever feel like supporting my channel. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and I'll check you next time.